I'm gonna defer to you guys in terms of putting yourself in situations that are outside your comfort zone, trying to get out of those constraints that impede your connections. Is that the idea that you're getting at?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet, yeah.
I think, funnily enough, Ash and I's connection is something that I thought of when you were talking about this with dance.
Yeah.
I actually think I just always wanted to learn to dance, and I did that like during my gap year, one of my gap years. Just like this past year, right before I started school, I was just like having this crisis where I couldn't do a lot of pre-med stuff because of COVID, and I had finished I had finished my pre-med stuff. I had taken all my classes, I'd taken the MCAT, and I had all this free time, and I was like, I don't know who I am anymore. I thought I was I wanted to be that multi-dimensional person, but I not right now. And I'd always wanted to be able to be more in touch with my body and comfortable in my body. And so I started taking dance classes, and eventually I got comfortable enough and encouraged by other girls that I went to Millennium Dance Co. And hopefully this isn't cliche, but I think I was exposed to more cultures in that one studio than I have been in my whole life in Utah. And for example, I brought some friends that were traveling nurses from Florida. They're Puerto Rican, and I brought them with me to a Afro Tempo class at MDC, and they mentioned, like, as soon as we walked out, they were like, that is the most culture I've seen the entire time I've been here. And I think that place was important too, because not only was it just visually diverse, people actually were culturally diverse, and they represented their cultures and they were passionate about their cultures. And I really think I learned a lot this past year going there about cultures that were in our valley that I hadn't been previously privy to or engaged in. So that was a really important experience for me, and probably changed me forever. Yeah. And I'm sure Ash can relate.
Yeah, dance is a big thing for me, for sure. I have always been involved in like sports or dance growing up. I started dancing when I was 8, and then sadly, I did my last year of professional dance as a freshman in college, and then it was sell your soul to the pre-med life, so I didn't really do it anymore. I just kind of stopped. I still had hobbies, but I was really consumed. The hobbies were almost surrounding medicine in a sense too. I felt like one of my hobbies was being an anatomy TA. Like that's not that's cool, but is that a hobby? You know? So I really did miss dancing. And then when I finally felt like I could return to it, it just reminded me of what a community and what a safe space it can be. And like you said, it's so important to be able to have a creative outlet to express yourself, to connect with people, and do something you enjoy with people that you love. And so, well, it's been maybe two decades for me of dancing. I took a long time off of it, and being able to reconnect with that part of myself has definitely been amazing, because now I have a different community of friends that I can have this outlet with, and I can share that love with other people, which is really cool. I have I don't know what to call it. It's a collective of friends, and we teach community classes and workshops sometimes, and it's essentially just to create a safe space for people who either have never danced or don't feel comfortable with their body image or whatever it may be, to just come feel good about themselves and like feel sexy and cool and like have fun. And that has been probably one of the biggest ways I've put myself out there recently, and it's just been like a life-changing experience. It's really nice.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys both have had very empowering experiences. I know you want to go off on this topic.
I'm not going to go off because I don't know. I'm not going to go off, but love it. I love it, man. Shout out to my dance people. I think SJ could probably take one of your classes. You still teach those? No, I'm just teasing. But no, I love dance, man. It's, I'm I'm really resonating with these two guests right here. Really special for sure. Go ahead. That's all I had to say.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say something about dance, just because, like, from my experience with it, it's been brief, but I would say that it's a universal language, right? And you touched about like the cultures and how a mix of cultures were all in one place, and how you said it's like empowering for all the different people involved. It's a universal language. Like, no matter where you're from, no matter what language you speak, no matter what you're about, you can come together and express yourself in a way that can universally be understood, right? So I think that part is amazing.
Powerful, potent.
Yeah.
There's no impediments to the communication that's happening. You know what I mean? It's so dynamic.
I know
I love
you
the
love this. I know you love it.
I love it. Yeah, man. I'm not even that good. That's what's so beautiful about it.
Cap.
Hey, man, I think anybody who has seen your material.
I'm about to archive all my posts on IG. I'm just kidding. But back on track. You said, I think I heard you mention safe space. Man, oh man, how important that is. See, within medical school, I'm an MS2, and as y'all know, if you watch the last 2 episodes, tune in.
Season Discourse on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google
Visually on
Podcasts,
YouTube. Yeah.
everywhere,
Yeah. Go get it. Safe
and
space.
YouTube.
Yeah. Safe space. How important is a safe space? I remember actually it was during that my professionalism and diversity talk to the MS1s. I think because you was helping record, and that's why I'm pointing at you. But I think I remember talking about, maybe I didn't mention it, but I remember talking to you about behind the scenes, like how people, they don't really like when they're trying new things out, it's hard for them to fully indulge like their whole self into it, right? They might peek their head in, say that like there's a sphere, let's illustrate it, right? There's a sphere, and that's that new endeavor, that new thing you're trying out. They don't, in order for that person to really try out that new thing and really for things to happen, right? They have to indulge their whole self into it. Mind, body, soul. They have to jump in. But if they just peek their head in it, just put their toes in and whatnot, they don't get that full experience. You know what I'm saying? And I think at safe space is really important because a lot of people they have these personal barriers, and I say personal because some are higher than others for certain people, but they have these personal barriers that impede them from feeling like it's a safe space. Mm-hmm. And I think we as teachers, I mean, I used to teach, but like you guys as people who are teaching dance and whatever else, it's important for them to really consider different walks of life to open up that safe space, and hopefully that sphere is larger, that circumference is wider. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I love that.
Touch on that?
Oh, please do that.
I think
thing.
Growing up on the Wasatch Front, my view of dance was always very like elitist and all about impressing over expressing.
Yep.
There's a lot of like professional ballroom dancers that come from the Wasatch Front, and it wasn't until I started dancing at it wasn't until I went to those community dance areas that I learned so much about dancing and how it should be about expression over impression. And there was one teacher I had, Buddy Love, and he is amazing, and he also started to learn like as an adult, which is rare. And he said something one time about how when he's performing for us, he's really not trying to impress, and he's really just sharing himself with us, and he's not doing it for our congrats or like to impress us. And if he wants us to he wants us to not feel afraid to be like cheering him on, like because he's like in a higher tier or something. And I learned a lot from that, because sometimes I'm afraid to give someone else praise that I view as like better than me, because I feel like it won't mean anything because I'm just down here and they're up there. And that I learned a lot from him saying that, and I just try and like not let my insecurity or I guess insecurity impede me from sharing with other people and praising them and complimenting them, and because they just want to like share energy with me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Community is it should not be segregated, and I think dance is, and unfortunately society is constructed in a way that it is like that.
Medicine too.
Yes.
There's so many parallels between what we just said about dancing and what we talked about with medicine. Both can be elitist, or they can both be really warm, loving, safe spaces for people. And it depends on who is in your community and what they're communicating. You know, it depends entirely on that and your attitude towards it, and other people too. Like, I've had so many years of it's a performance. It's for other people. It's to look good, and then getting older and not being on that professional level anymore, not being as dynamic or maybe as flexible or athletic, right? And doing it just for myself. Like, when we have these classes that we're teaching, it's 100% about communication. You know, you're here not for anyone else. You're here to love you. You're here to express you. You're not here to give a show. You're not here to earn an award. You're just here to enjoy yourself and dance and create, and that is all it is. And I've noticed something cool about our class is the camaraderie that we have, which I didn't actually notice last year as much, but I can't speak. I didn't finish out the year, but it feels so, for the most part, warm and inviting, because a couple of people just kind of started being like, hey guys, I made a study guide if you want to look at it. Hey guys, don't forget to submit the layers assignment. You're going to see the PCC committee, you know, like, we all have been uplifting each other and creating a safe space. And it's been months of us doing that. And now I feel like I can go to school and I can.
And now it's the norm. I think.
It's the norm. Yeah. And it all started with probably one or two people being like, hey.
Yeah. And not being like insecure and being like, because I even like, I don't know if I have anything of value to post on like Slack or anything. Like, I even am scared, or like I would never post my study guides just for fear of like people being like, this is shit. this is your material, you know? So yeah, I think the humility creates camaraderie.
Absolutely.
Man, you guys got some amazing little quotes here. You said impressing over expressing when it comes to dance. Humility, at least it comes. I love that.
I love that too.
So on that note, it sounds like you guys are not the typical med students that you hear about, at least from my opinion. Because I like when I think, and I say this because I have like experienced that myself, and you kind of said a little bit about this, where people have looked at you and been like, oh, you're in medicine, or you're in med school type thing. And it's like,
what kind of nurse do you want to be?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Dang.
Way too many times.
I guess
Don't get me started on that.
Wow. Yeah.
That's a whole thing we can get into as well.
Right.
And it's just crazy that people can make these assumptions just based on how people are and how people kind of come off. And I actually love how med schools are diversifying. At least they're trying to, but we're still kind of forced to do this like conformity to get in. Whereas like we have to fit this box.
And check the boxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I do give certain schools like a lot of praise, because some schools have gone outside to like really like see what individuals are actually about, what they actually stand for. And I think you guys have expressed that wonderfully in terms of like, you guys know who you guys are. You guys know how to express it. And you guys aren't the typical, for me in my head, you guys aren't the typical med student as what I would think of. Oh, that's like a person in medical school, at least in like the traditional sense. You don't think about it in terms of people that are like actually like any of us, in my opinion, because I don't think we fit that mold really.
At all. No, not at all. I'm not gonna lie. It's interesting what not being typical can create, but can also, I'll use the word create again, on the inside of that individual who's atypical. It's a lot of pressure. depending on the degree of atypical that you are. But I think it's very important to always remember, no matter your race, like the demographic of who you are, that you can contribute and you can change the status quo, right? That doesn't matter if you're a part of the majority or the minority. You can contribute. You know what I mean? And I think that's very important, especially for the majority, like those that are they are part of the majority, but they're atypical. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They can contribute massively with their experiences, their mindset, their perspective. And I think that's very important to remember. I'm not even sure how that tied into what y'all were talking about, but I just had to say that.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
I actually, on that front of like trying to understand how that plays out, I want to ask you guys if like since you guys have been in, like you guys are in medical school now and kind of experiencing it and seeing how it's like, I guess how it is on the inside per se, what do you think is different in terms of like how you thought things would look like versus how they are, or if it is exactly how you pictured it?
I think it's definitely not how I pictured it, and maybe that has again to do with how we've kind of created our class culture to be, because I've heard things, right? Each class is different and unique. We have different people from class to class, but you know, I envisioned this competitive dog eat dog kind of, you know, no one's helping each other out, no one's supporting each other. It's, well, I want to be a dermatologist or I want to be the orthopedic surgeon, so I'm going to step on you to get there. And I'm, you know, I've heard things like that before. I'm sure we all have, and that's scary and intimidating, but that is not my experience at all. And I'm really grateful for that at the University of Utah.
Yeah.
Because our professors are encouraging our students, our peers, our student body officers. Everyone is so amazing. And I have yet to really have a negative experience so far, which I'm really grateful for. But
I love the idea of class culture.
Yeah.
Really sets the tone. Yeah,
I
go
like
ahead.
that too. And I think that our class has done a good job of being warm and inclusive. But I'm not going to lie, I was a little shocked about the lack of diversity.
Oh, 100%.
Okay. I thought, like, just based on how the U
yes.
wants themselves to be perceived, I thought it was going to be a lot more diverse. But, and I think that has made things hard for me personally. That it is things that I've had to work through. But I definitely had a buffer period at the first few weeks of school where I was like, I do not fit in here. It was one of those times too where it's like I told myself I wanted to be different and I want to be a multidimensional person. I don't want to be in this be able to be put in a category. But then all of a sudden I was like feeling so isolated and like I don't belong here. And so that's just been something I have had to just like work through and just I don't know, that's something I'm working through. But I think again a lot of it can be my own insecurities, and I think when I actually reach out and, you know, assume the best of people, it's never been negative. So
I think I've experienced that too.
Yeah.
You know, like they said, atypical, you know, can make you feel
alone.
A little bit alone, or you can compare yourself to other people. Maybe we're not cookie cutter students, but I think that's really cool. You can be a dancer and a scholar and a student physician and, you know, someone who's funny and someone who is good at video games or seasoned, right? Like,
Seasoned.
I think that's cool. Or you can be queer, or you can be black, right? Like you can do all of these things. And like you guys were saying, you bring a different perspective and you bring different experience, and it's all necessary. Like we are a community and we wouldn't be as great without the other, right? We need that variety. So I think it's hard to get past that imposter syndrome, because I feel that too. I'm like, I feel like these people don't understand my sense of humor. Maybe I'm too wild for these kids. You know, sometimes I think that I'm like, oh, let's go to the bars and get
Yeah.
just obliterated. Let's go.
Like Saturday morning.
Right? I'm hungover and they're like, I was
Yeah.
studying at the library at
Yeah.
8 a.m. And I'm like, not me.
Yeah.
But, like, it doesn't mean that we don't belong here. It's just we have a different life.
Yeah.
I like that you brought up the fact that you didn't really feel like you fit in initially, and because I felt the same way when I came in. I was very much like, this is not my crowd.
Did you experience that, Nate?
Thank you.
You wouldn't know anything about that.
Reorient.
I wouldn't. No, elaborate. Nah, I felt like, because everyone. So my class, everyone looks exactly like me in my class. Everyone's exact. They look. Yeah. No, I'm the only black male in my class. About 120 or so, 125, give or take, students, and I mean, do the math. That is, and I'm not. I was raised in a certain way as well, in a great way. But it's just not the same in comparison to all my classmates. And that's very, very, very apparent. It's very apparent. And so yeah, it was tough, to answer your question. It was tough for sure. And I coming into medical school, I knew it was gonna be tough. Like, and by that I mean in and of itself, like just the academics. But then when you take the social part of it, I was like, oh yeah, that's also gonna be tough. Mm-hmm. All right, so it's tough squared. And then the mental well-being part of it, I was like, okay, that's also gonna be tough. All right, so tough, to the tough cube. So it's been difficult. You know what I mean? It's been very difficult. But I think something that Sajad brought up on the last podcast is the concept of behavioral flexibility. And I think that aspect, even though I didn't know the term at the time, is what I was doing throughout this past year and even now. And that has helped me to overcome the adversity of all those aspects of the medical school student life. And I can't help but just say I'm blessed. You know what I mean? So it's tough to overcome because mental health is a huge thing as us three, really know about.
Yeah, you know nothing, but
who's those who are interested in psych. But and what I wanted to say was
specialist.
So mental health, right? And I think you brought up a point in terms of like how you validated her point and how how you felt, especially during COVID over Zoom. My goodness, what that could do to your mental well-being. And it brings my point. It brings up my point of, as caretakers, I think it's very ironic, right, that we also need not also, we need the most care. Because if we're not well, how can we ensure those that need to be well are well?
Right. How can we take care of other people?
Exactly.
If we can't take care of ourselves.
And flip the coin. Hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a dangerous little slope. I said little slope. That's a steep slope, man. Part of my language. So I think it's really important to take care of ourselves and find that community, because community equals well-being. Those that are like you, or those that you can create connections with, right? Creative constraints that we talked about. All those things are important for the well-being of a caretaker. And I just wanted to bring that up. So make sure you take care of your well-being, y'all. Those who are trying to get into medical school, the medical field, wherever, it doesn't matter. Take care of your well-being. That's the most important thing. If you are well, you will make others well as well. Damn. I just said well 3 times.
No, it was good.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. That brings up a thing about like the whole, just the well-being in terms of medicine. I think something that, because we're in this field that is so demanding, that is like our days are busy. Like we're busy 24/7. You guys have experienced that now. Like you guys are in it and you guys see that, you see it, I see it. So like, it's just so demanding. And the thing that makes it the most difficult, I think, is that like med school continues to move even though life happens, right? Mm-hmm. And just something recently that it didn't happen to me personally, but happened to one of my classmates, and it was a life event that is really altering, right? It just it literally stops everything in its tracks in terms of like the things that, like, there's a hierarchy of things that matter, right? And at the top of it, in my opinion, is family and friends, right? That's the top, and personal well-being, of course, and that kind of all goes into the same thing. But at the top, that's what it is. Everything else is secondary. So when that top hierarchy, that rung gets striked, like everything else continues to move, but that thing that's the most important stays, right? And it just it doesn't allow you to continue to move forward. So like that's the thing that I think I have the most struggle with, because in my head it's like something could happen at any time that would bar a good, like it would bar a lot of stuff. I've seen it happen in my class. There's a number of students that had to basically take leaves of absences for very understandable reasons. And it's difficult to see, because it's like, it doesn't wait for you. This train is literally, once you get on the train, that train is moving and it's not going to stop.
Yeah.
And that's a reality I think people have to understand coming into medicine, because I didn't understand it. And it hit me, that train hit me. Like that train kept moving. I stood still per se, even though we're still moving, but it's like I jumped up and I hit the end of the train, right? Like I stayed mid. You guys get what I'm saying, but it's difficult.
Yeah. Time waits for no one.
At all. Time is, and it's tough because time is not your enemy.
No.
I used to think time was my enemy.
Depends on what you look now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, this dude. No, I used to think time was my enemy. Like, damn, like, I'm running out of time. This is that. Like, I would hate time. And
Oh yeah, this is something we talked about last time too.
Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
but time. But it's not your enemy. It's just something that you learn to, for lack of a better term, manipulate to your own, for your own benefit. This is something that we talked about last time, being effective with your time and your time management. But yeah, I think it's a really good point that you brought up, and I hope you guys really resonate with what he just talked about, because it's very important. Time waits for no one. Like for example, when the loss of a loved one, those who are within the immediate family of that person are affected the most. Other people are affected as well, right? I'm not taking away from anyone. However, life still goes on, and you'll see those who aren't as affected from the loss of that person, life continues to move. Those who are really affected, it's detrimental, right? Why are you looking at me like that, man?
No,
I'm just playing. I'm playing.
No, it's real stuff. It
My
just
fault.
it makes me go into thoughts. It's real stuff.
Yeah. So it's just important, man. It's important to understand that, because that can really derail your life. So
I think about that all the time. It's like an intrusive thought, but I'm like, what if my mom died or my brother died while I was in med school, or really at any point in my life? I never want that to happen, obviously, right? But would it just throw me right off the rails? Like you said, would I be able to continue? Because that is incredibly devastating. How do you come back to school and study acid-base disorders when like something so horrible has happened? I can't. And even the leave of absence, you come back and like you're probably not even the same person, right? Like those things change you
different class
for the rest of your life. So, that is a really, really tough subject.
And that is, I feel like medicine is a little bit unique in that way. Like most people our age probably are just in their jobs and they can talk to their boss and work something out. But like you said, the train just keeps moving and you have to make decisions and change the course of your life.
And